Good morning, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, Judge Amy Coney Barrett has officially taken the judicial oath of office today, or judicial oath rather, in a private ceremony at the Supreme Court with Chief Justice Roberts. Barrett was sworn in as a new Supreme Court justice last night, taking her constitutional oath before a socially distanced masked crowd at the White House. The Senate confirmed Barrett in a 52-48 Senate vote. Maine Senator Susan Collins was the only Republicans to join Democrats in unanimous opposition. Now, Barrett's confirmation locks in a 6-3 conservative majority on the high court, but Barrett said in her speech last night that she will remain impartial.
A judge declares independence not only from Congress and the president, but also from the private beliefs that might otherwise move her.
After taking today's oath, Barrett can immediately hear cases. And just a week away from the final votes, President Trump and former President Biden are making their final push in the race for the White House. First Lady Melania Trump will visit Pennsylvania today in her first solo appearance on the campaign trail this year. And President Trump is holding rallies in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nebraska, 3 states he won in 2016. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is heading to Georgia, a state that hasn't been won by a Democrat since 1992. More than 64 million Americans have already cast their ballots. Nearly half of all of those votes counted in 2016. And we're following 2 major weather stories for you. Tens of thousands of people have been told to evacuate in Southern California as wildfires burn out of control. Wind gusts hit up to 90 miles an hour in some areas, fueling those flames. Firefighters say some of the fires are 0% contained. Meanwhile, the hard-hit Gulf is bracing for another possible hurricane after Zeta made landfall in Mexico overnight. The storm is expected to move into the Gulf of Mexico this morning. Zeta makes landfall again. If it makes landfall again, it will be the 11th named storm to do so in the U.S. this year. The governor of Louisiana has already declared a state of emergency. And as coronavirus cases surge across the country, one state has managed to keep cases relatively low. Maine declared a civil state of emergency in March, within 3 days of the state's first recorded COVID case, and it is still in effect. Now the state has the country's lowest positivity rate. Stephanie Ramos is in Portland, Maine, with more on the precautions there.
While much of the country is still seeing a surge in COVID-19 cases, Maine, which has the country's oldest population, has the lowest COVID infection rates. The state's COVID-19 test positivity rate, averaging roughly 1.21%, is the lowest in the nation. In comparison, equally rural North Dakota has a rate more than 10 times higher, with roughly 60% of the population of Maine and a younger population with an average age of 35.
We saw COVID-19 coming from end of December, early January, when the global health experts began to warn of what was happening. We had a plan.
Governor Janet Mills mandated face coverings in public spaces and issued stay-at-home orders in April. People listened. Schools in Maine have so far managed to keep their infection numbers in check. In Portland, the state's largest school district, schools are using a combination of in-person and remote online learning. Of the 5,700 kids rotating into classes 2 days a week, the school district has had 1 COVID case.
The infection happened outside of school, and we did not have any close contacts that tested positive.
As far as the economy, Maine's tourism industry is down, especially in towns heavily dependent on Canadian tourists. Maine's hotels, bars, and restaurants are expected to lose more than $1 billion in revenue this year. Diane.
Stephanie Ramos in Portland, Maine for us. Thanks, Stephanie. And joining us now for more on this is ABC News contributor Dr. John Brownstein. Dr. Brownstein, good morning. You know, every state is different. So what can other states learn from what we're seeing in Maine?
Yeah, well, Maine deserves a lot of credit for how they handled the pandemic. You know, they've built good protocols around masking and social distancing. Businesses have adapted well. They've recognized the importance of indoor transmission and super spreading events. And so a lot of the population is on board, and that's because they believe in science-based approaches. They've had really strong leadership. I think it's important to caveat that it's a more isolated population, smaller numbers, and they didn't get hit as early as places like Boston or New York City. So important caveats, but when you compare to North Dakota that has a younger population about the same size, I mean, the difference really is public health leadership. So when you think about, how states can turn things around, it's basically what we've been saying all along, right? Maximize social distancing, mask mandates, recognize the importance of transmission indoors, so better ventilation, closing dining and nightclubs. Again, same things over and over again, plus testing and contact tracing. But the reality is we can all look like Maine if we want to.
And Dr. Brownstein, we also heard Stephanie talking about the economy there. Tourism has taken a big hit. How do you strike that balance? It seems like the million-dollar question right now between trying to keep people safe and to save lives, but also try to save people's livelihoods.
Right. So, it's really important, right? So the importance is how do you keep businesses open, keep, outdoor dining open, keep ways of people sort of maintaining their livelihoods. Also, it's really important as we think about trying to keep sort of that pandemic fatigue down, right? So this idea of focusing on high-risk events, right? So transmission events with aerosols and respiratory, so not being overworked about things like surfaces that are, we know are low probability events. Then also recognize that open outdoor activities are safe, right? So the idea that parks and beaches are so important, even a safe Halloween is feasible. So we should be getting outside as much as possible, even as we head into this colder weather. The final thing is, it's really important for us to think about prioritizing self-care. So this idea that, it's not just about the pandemic, the virus itself, it's about mental health. So how can we take care of our bodies, exercising, nutrition, lowering stress through things like meditation, connecting with others virtually if we can, and honestly, trying to limit the news intake, right? This is going to be a hard week, so try to limit the amount of news we're consuming as we head into this next election cycle.
Okay, except on ABC News Live at the hours of 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 3 p.m., right, Doc?
Yes, exactly.
There we go. Keeping everybody safe, one news report at a time. Dr. Brownstein, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now to a first look at an ABC News Live special, America's Future, the Power of the Latino Vote. He's Gio Benitez with the impact of the Latino vote in the 2020 presidential election.
I like to be in America, okay by me in America.
Latinos have been influencing American culture for decades. And big names like Pitbull and Romeo Santos are moving La Cultura into the 21st century. Even commanding big stages like the Super Bowl. But even with these huge successes, veteran actress Justina Machado says cultural recognition is still far from complete.
There weren't a lot of people when I was growing up on television or in films that I could grasp onto and say, oh, wow, that's like me.
Here we go.
Shows with Latino leads like One Day at a Time and Pose noticeably still left out of the Emmy race.
You're my only daughter. I can't do that.
We're so hardworking, and I think that we're tired of being disrespected.
So as Latinos look to strengthen their place in Hollywood, they're already making strides in D.C. U.S. Representative Tony Cardenas is spearheading the effort to make the next Smithsonian Museum on the National Mall one that honors Latino culture.
The point is to inspire, to give people something to look at and say, hey, that person looks like my tío or my tía or my grandpa or my grandma. And then all of a sudden say, hey, they can do it, I can do it too.
And tonight, we're going to look at so many issues, like family separations at the border and the future of DACA recipients. And the legendary Rita Moreno is going to join us with a look at how Latinos came to this country. We hope you'll join us tonight, and it all debuts on ABC News Live. Diane?
Sounds good, Gio. And as Gio said, America's Future, the Power of the Latino Vote, streams tonight at 8 p.m. right here on ABC News Live. And now for your latest science and technology headlines, here's Andrew Dimbert.
In today's Tech Bytes, online shopping is surging, and so are online purchasing scams. 38% of scams reported so far this year were related to online shopping, compared to 24% last year. And 80% of consumers say they've lost money, many on purchases made through Facebook. Whitney Houston's classic version of I Will Always Love You joins an exclusive club. It's the fourth song from the 90s to reach the 1 billion mark, the first from a solo artist. The 1992 hit was featured featured in the film The Bodyguard. Finally, some real-life Pac-Man. A virtual board sits on a 200-square-foot maze in Illinois that was carved out to look like the arcade game. The front loaders are driven remotely by players in color-coded hats. The board was recreated by engineers at Caterpillar to mark the company's 95th anniversary. Those are your Tech Bites. Diane, back to you.
If you can't play Pac-Man at a bar, you might as well play it in a field. Thanks, Andrew. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for The Breakdown.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.